Folks, so welcome to the LI News Newsmaker line. We've got Chairman, Brookhaven Conservative Chairman Frank Profeta on the program. Mr. Chairman, welcome aboard. How are you?
I'm doing great, John. How about yourself?
I'm doing fabulous. You know, I had you on initially. Let's talk about the first subject. The reason I had you on today, I called you up. There was a great decision. It was in today's Newsday. Over in Brookhaven, there was an effort to rezone a parcel of land in Medford, which would, I guess, give a green light to casinos and gambling. Could you give us a little background as far as what happened? And apparently, the Brookhaven Town officials unanimously decided to not vote on it. Apparently, there was a vote to take place. They decided not to have the vote. Give us a rundown on that, Frank, if you could.
Yeah, there's a parcel of land. It's the old Brookhaven multiplex off of Exit 64, and that is one of the proposed sites that actually is being looked at to have a casino put in the town of Brookhaven. And when we had gotten wind of that, and people in the community had gotten wind of that, they actually started voicing their opinion that, hey, we don't believe that casinos are good for the community because of the elements that go along with casinos. And a perfect example would be the Atlantic City casino area. And that's something that you and I had discussed last week. But actually on Monday we discussed that. And I believe, that having this casino in here is not going to enhance the revenues. And that was something that, like I had told you, we believed as conservatives. Not only do we think gambling is just morally not right, but we also believe that it should not be used as a means to enhance revenue for a municipality. And I got to tell you, hearing about this, and since the budget is coming up in Brookhaven, I felt that they were just pulling the casino card as their rescue shoot. And I got to tell you, I was disappointed. So I gave the elected officials a call, and I said, hey, listen, what are you guys doing with this? This is not a good thing for our community. I said, you in yourself, your own words, have said that it brings crime, it brings drugs, it brings prostitution, it brings unnecessary traffic to the area. And that was something that they even stated in their own town press release back in 2010 when they were looking at the Shoreham site. Fast forward to 2014, they wanted to amend the town code to allow casinos in the town of Brookhaven. Now, I voiced my opinion. I spoke to Dan Panico. I spoke with Jane Bonner. I had text conversations with Timothy Mazie and the town supervisor, and had a long conversation with Kevin Laval. And I got to tell you, after having those conversations, I believe that the town elected officials have really reconsidered and taken a really hard look at the negative impact that casinos would have in our community, and that it would affect the quality of life in our communities. And I believe that they actually had a change of heart on this, because when you take a real look at it, it's not good all the way around.
Mr. Chairman Frank Profeta, I see this as a short-term fix, and it isn't even it doesn't fix anything. It just deepens it deepens the hole that we're in, and the state, even upstate in Albany, this is Cuomo's great panacea for our financial woes. And I'll tell you, I'll ask anybody, give me some clear instances across the country where they brought in casinos and it actually was the economic boom that you claim it's going to be. And you know what? They're not going to be able to provide me with one. Wherever they go, Pennsylvania, Louisiana, Massachusetts, Atlantic City, it's just not there, Frank.
I mean, take a look, John. You mentioned Massachusetts. They're now putting together a resolution to actually reverse the resolution that they made almost 3 years ago to allow casino gambling. They realize that it's not effective, and it's not a good way to enhance revenues for the municipality. I mean, it's proven itself time and time again. All you need to do is just go on and do some research, and you'll see articles from the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, MSNBC, and even some local websites. Philly.com had an interesting article on how casino gambling has not been the savior of the town budget to lower town taxes for the residents. It just doesn't work.
Folks,
and when you combine that with OTB that is defunct and in bankruptcy, you're just making a recipe for failure. And I really believe, this is not a partisan issue, and I believe that's what the board actually realized. This is not partisan. This is a quality of life issue.
This is a quality of life issue. Absolutely. And folks, they're going to try to sneak this by us. First, they start with what they call it. It's almost like pro-abortion, pro-choice. Now you don't even hear the word abortion anymore. It's a choice. Well, they're almost doing the same thing with this. Video lottery terminal complex, they call it. A gaming facility, they'll call it. They don't call it for what it really is. It's a casino. It preys upon some of the weakest people in society, the elderly typically. It drains them of all their money so that when they come out of the casino, they don't have any more money to spend in the local stores in the community. They have to wait for their next welfare check. They come back in. They spend all their money again within the casino. The people leave the casino again, and they've got no money.
Exactly.
But the very nature,
the economy?
The very nature of a casino is completely opposite of any type of conservative principle whatsoever. In fact, Mr. Chairman, you have it in your questionnaire. Out of the 74 questions, you specifically ask candidates who seek the conservative line to run for office. You specifically ask them, don't you? Isn't there a question on there that we talked about on Monday?
Yes, it's question number 51, and it actually says, do you oppose casino gambling as a means to enhance revenue? And I got to tell you, that was one of the first things that I did was I mentioned that to Dan Panico. I mentioned that to Tim Mazie. I said, hey, remember this?
And what's their reaction? What I forgot, or what do they say to you?
Well, it's interesting because Tim Mazie actually said, honestly, I don't remember this.
Okay, that's fair.
And at least he was being honest with me.
Yeah.
And I asked Dan Panico the same question, and it's something that he believes that it would help the community. I said, listen, you had said that you weren't for this. Well, how could you be for it now?
Right.
What's changed?
Yeah, show me the data. Show me. Okay, that's great, Councilman.
Well, that's the whole thing. The data
Panico.
is something that you can't refute.
Right. This is great. We should invite him on the program. Defend your position of a casino. Defend your position of a casino. I want to see the research that you did before you single-handedly transform our communities into little Atlantic cities or little Las Vegases or Reno, Nevadas. You show me the data that you've collected that demonstrates that it's a positive impact on our communities. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. You know what they do? They all scurry around and they worry about how it's going to look when Newsday reports the deficit that you're in. And you're going to be able to offset this horrible headline of a deficit with projected revenue from gaming facilities or video lottery terminal complexes that you're going to install. So, Frank, I think it's great that you hold him to the fire. Listen, while I have you on the line, I don't know if you caught this. Play that cut. We had New York State Senator Phil Boyle on the program. Another question when people screen to be a conservative, to get the conservative line, is gambling. That's one issue. It's also pro-life, correct? Isn't that?
Absolutely. That is the paramount.
All right. Let me play. I asked him, and it was quickly. And I don't want to take it out of context. It was very quick, and I'll get him. It's just that I got a lot of feedback, and a lot of people asked questions for clarification. Sure. This is what he. I said, hey, Senator, you're pro-life, aren't you? And he kind of hesitated a little bit, and then he said something to the effect of, well, the definition has changed so often over the years, or something like that. I want to play it for. I think it's important for Republicans to stand strong on that. Yeah. I mean, listen, you're pro-life, right? Are you pro-life or are you pro?
John, that definition changes so much on a daily basis.
Because that definition changes so much on a daily basis, Mr. Chairman. As a chairman of the town Conservative Party, if somebody seeks your line, your support in running for office, and you ask them if they're pro-life, would you accept that as an answer?
I would not. And I would ask them to explain themselves And usually when they start explaining themselves, they dig a bigger hole.
Yeah.
Because that's a yes or no question.
It's a yes or no question. Pro-life or not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, that in itself, knowing this now, John, when Phil Boyle comes in to screen again on the county committee, this is something that I'm actually going to play the audio tape for him.
Yeah, we got to ask him.
We need to have a serious conversation. I need you to explain this to us on your position, because you're telling us that you're pro-life, but you're on the air stating
the definition's changed.
Well, the definition hasn't changed. Maybe in his mind it's changed. Maybe he's changed. But the definition has not changed. And here's the thing. Okay, when you have somebody that says one thing and does another, a train doesn't move by its whistle. So if he's actually going out and saying this, and he says one thing to us to get the line, and another thing out there once he has the line, to me, that's hypocritical.
I wonder if Senator Boyle, you should probably go through all the at least the state representatives' questionnaires to see what their position on casinos is. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Our questionnaire in Brookhaven is quite a bit more comprehensive than the one on the county level. I had originally put something together on the chairman's request for the county, and we didn't want it to be too, well, actually, let me retract that. He didn't want it to be too in-depth, so we had put that forward. They answered some basic questions. Now, the one I put together for Brookhaven, I want to know what they believe, what is true to their heart. And I got to tell you, that questionnaire, it's very simple. It's yes or no, pro-life or pro-choice.
Yeah.
Tell me right now.
Yep.
Are you for casinos or against casinos? Let's talk about this.
Yeah, let's talk about it, and let's hold them to their decisions. Next week I'm going to try to reach out to this civic activist that was mentioned in Newsday, Mary Ann Johnston, because I got to give her a lot of credit. This is going to take a roots effort, a ground troops effort, activists, local activists, and perhaps churches and so forth. To get involved, because this stuff is happening. It's coming to your neighborhood, whether you like it or not. So you have a voice, and let it be heard. Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for joining us on today's program. I hope you have a great weekend.
My pleasure, John. You have a great weekend as well.
Okay.